So I'm going to call our meeting to order. Welcome to the regular board meeting of the Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees for April the 19th. My name is Paul Mang, I'm the board chair. So I'm going to call our meeting to order. We are going to have O Canada, so please, by Hazel Ridge School, please stand if you can do so. Thank you to Hazel Ridge School, appreciate it. And we're going to have our treaty acknowledgement by Trustee Harris.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thank you, Trustee Harris. The adoption of the agenda, be it resolved, the board approve the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Pachakowski, seconded by Trustee Duma. Questions? Hearing none, will vote. And thank you, it passed 9-0. 3.1 is chair's comments. Just a reminder to send all questions now to jody.thiessen at sunrisesd.ca. Thiessen, Thiessen. And certainly your name and address and sender must be included in the email. So your questions to her, and we'll try to get to the questions at the end of the evening. Before I go on, it's for people that aren't here in the building, it's a long time coming, but we have all 9 trustees here with us. We have our full slate of senior administrators, and it's something that we haven't done in probably 2 years, I think, right? Pretty close to 2 years not having everybody here, so it's great to see everybody being in the building and trying to get back to some kind of normalcy. So thank you certainly for everybody and for the work that for getting us back to this situation. Again, share a story. I'll certainly open it up to the floor about sharing a story. Trustee Duma.
I'd just like to share with everybody that there is something called the School Bus Driver Act, in which on the 3rd Wednesday in April, it's known as Manitoba School Bus Driver Day, which would be tomorrow. And just to do a brief highlight of the Act, it states that whereas Manitoba school bus drivers have an important responsibility to safely transport students in all parts of the province to and from school, sporting events, field trips, and many other activities. And whereas school bus drivers maneuver large vehicles through traffic regardless of the road and weather conditions and provide leadership in the event of an emergency. Whereas school bus drivers provide parents and guardians, students, teachers, and others in the education system with a valuable service. And whereas there is a need to recognize and promote awareness of the important role of school bus drivers, therefore this act is enacted in June of 2015. Just wanted to make that proclamation.
Well, thank you very much. I didn't know, and I'm going to try to get out to see our bus drivers tomorrow. So thanks for sharing that, Trustee Duma. Others share a story? So I'm going to share a story about Powerview School. Their drama program had a production, and parents were in the building watching their drama program yesterday. And that's kind of a long time coming. So it's great to see that parents back in the building at Powerview School and looking and seeing a drama program with kids in grades 2, 3, and 4, and parents with big smiles on their faces, and it's great to see. And the other story I want to share is that I'm going to my first PAC meeting in probably 2 years tomorrow night. I know some of you have been at PAC meetings that they've started back up. Well, Powerview's Parent Advisory Council is starting tomorrow, and they've asked me to come, and I said absolutely I'm going to come, and I'm pretty excited about getting back to the PAC and talking to parents. And so I know that a number of you have talked about that your PACs are going in your schools. Well, I'm just sharing that Powerview School is going tomorrow, so that's great to hear. Anyone else share a story? Oh, Trustee Pachkowski.
I just have to one-up you in Parview. So the earlier school at Beaujon already had their first in-person PAC meeting. But so that is a highlight, obviously, that I wanted to share, but it just goes along with what you're saying, Paul. But in addition to that, at that meeting, we had a report from the school administrators, and I can't emphasize enough how much they emphasized how much the culture in the school has changed in a positive way since the health restrictions have come off. There were stories that one of the administrators told about the first day where kids had no masks and there were no cohorts and the playground was full, and how it brought several staff to tears. It was just nice to hear. So great stories to hear at that meeting. I'm sure it was the same sort of sentiment at every school. So I just want to commend the schools for making that transition. I'm sure there were some folks that were uncomfortable. I'm sure there's some that were comfortable, but very good to hear about all the positive things that are happening again in our schools since that change. So thank you.
I'm going to share one more story, and this is a story about what Sunrise School Division is doing with response to potential Ukrainian students coming into our schools from overseas. Trustee Rowland was on a call that we had with the rest of the province a few days ago, and I was there, and Kathy had the principal Denica from Oakbank Elementary there as well, and the school divisions then talked about what they're potentially looking at doing. Principal Denica talked a little bit about the program at Oakbank Elementary, the Ukrainian bilingual program, and about us looking at how we could go ahead and support students. I think that Trustee Rowland and I talked about the fact is that if whatever Sunrise School Division can do to make students that come into our schools, their transition as smoothly as possible. Kathy's made, Superintendent Timko has made reference to that too, is however we can go ahead and ease any transition for students that are coming in to our school from the Ukraine. We'll certainly do whatever we can. So it was great to see that Orst was representing us, and on top of that, and thanks to Trustee Rowland for being on that conversation. Did you want to add anything else, Diane?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we had attended this meeting that was organized by the Manitoba Parents for Ukrainian Education. Paulette Manita had organized that, and it was the school divisions that currently run Ukrainian English bilingual programs, because they're hoping that that's where Ukrainian students would end up and feel comfortable in. And I just wanted to say thank you to Oris Denica for the outreach work he's doing for our division on behalf, and the community is all willing, and school division is trying to be as able as we can to embrace any new students we may have. Thank you.
Oris happened to find a new job that he was given, as many of the big, larger school divisions were talking about the transition person that they had in place to go ahead and deal with any kind of foreign students. Winnipeg 1 talked about it, so the large school divisions in the city did that. And I certainly went online and said, oh yeah, or Mr. Denica, he's our Sunrise's transition person for us. And so kidding aside, Oris will do a great job, and he did a great job certainly on the call for us. So thanks, Oris, for the work that you're going to go ahead and do, and thanks, Diane, for that report. Anyone else share a story? Okay, so we're going to move on to 4.1. We have our maintenance manager here, Mr. Ryback, and Jody, I'm going to let you introduce Mr. Ryback.
Oh, I see. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I've asked Mr. Derek Ryback to present. He is our manager of the maintenance department. He's been with the school division for many, many years, so he has a robust knowledge on the facilities in our organization. And what I wanted for him to do tonight was to kind of give the trustees an idea of what his summer is going to look like. Turns out it's not going to be a summer vacation, it's just lots of hard work ahead of him. So what I can do, I'll put the list on or somebody will, me. I'll put it on the screen so we can show everything. And if Derek, you want to kind of go through the list and kind of explain some of the projects that you're going to be busy this summer with. Mm-hmm.
Well, Sunrise is going to be very busy in the maintenance department is correct. We've got a lot of projects that are going to be happening through 2022 and into 2023. A lot of things that we're looking at preventative maintenance that to prolong our buildings, such as general roof maintenance throughout the summer. We're going to do some repairing and gym floor recoding, plumbing upgrades that are taking place and completed in Hazelwood School. And we're doing some office renovations, one particularly at Edward Charter School, and we're doing the Ecole-Dugald Library as well with some renovations. Dust collector maintenance we're going to be doing at the schools such as Ecole Parview, Edward Charter School, and Springfield Middle School. Exterior facility ground maintenance, so we do look at a lot of the drainage. We're working on some projects at Springfield Middle School currently and at Springfield Collegiate. We're also looking at doing interior lighting upgrades. We have some lighting upgrades along with PowerSmart contributing to these projects. Lighting upgrades would be at Oakbank Elementary hallway, Ecole Beaujeu Early Years hallway, and Ecole-Dugald Library. We have annual inspections that we need to do for our canteen suppression systems and our fume hoods in science labs. Boiler inspections also is a big thing. We do the opening of the boilers by the Manitoba Department of Labor, and once they open up the boilers, it's always like a can of worms. Sometimes you're going to get away lucky and have minimal repairs or a lot of repairs. Air conditioning maintenance we're going to be doing divisional, and also some fire alarm upgrades at Springfield Middle School and Gillis School. Now the highlights, this is where I get a little nervous, is the province of Manitoba, which is now Manitoba Central Services, has awarded Sunrise School Division of projects over $12 million. A big one is Springfield Collegiate. It's east wing replacement along with exterior walls and roof and mechanical upgrade, $6.6 million. When I say it's a big project, it's huge. The pandemic that with what we just currently are going through still related to COVID has delayed a lot of projects that we need to complete a project. We're seeing already there's going to be timelines, and working with the school administrator, Kevin Dell, has been very, very well
receptive to the conditions that he's going to be faced with, has had many conversations with Sunrise School Division. I remember saying in 2002 when Beausejour Earlier School was finished, it was a big challenge, it was a big job. And I says my job's going to be less and less pressure and not as
Trustee Nichol?
Are you able to share the name of the contractor?
for the Springfield Collegiate is Red Lake Construction, and for Edward Schreier School is Canatech Consulting.
So you're related to the same contractor that did Whitemount School?
That's correct.
So they'll do a good job?
100%.
Also the ones that did Dugald School?
100%.
So Derek, I was by Powerview School, and that classroom is now empty, and they're hauling stuff out, and it's great in the middle of a project that good to go ahead and see, and the school accommodating. My next thing is, it's great that we got to 12 million. So how did you do it?
You're putting on me a spot. No comment.
Okay, thanks. No comment. Anything else for Derek? Anyway, Jody, nice certainly to Scott and yourself and to Derek for the team about where things are going. Looks like a real good busy summer. It looks like there's lots of money being spent in Sunrise School Division. Kudos to your department, Jody, for that work and as to where things are going. All kidding aside, you know what, I think that we'll endure for a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's going to look great, so we're pretty excited about it. Thanks.
I just want to add one more thing. It's, for example, like you said earlier, with Cole Powerview School with the Science Lab. It's a big job, and it's happening while classes are going on. And again, team effort, thanks to Trevor Reed for his help and flexibility to moving classrooms around to make this project start early so that it'll be finished hopefully by the start of school.
It'll be finished by the end of June, is that what you just said?
Sorry, correction, beginning of September.
Okay.
Good catch.
All right, thanks very much. Anybody else? Kathy, anything you want to comment on? Okay, thanks very much, Derek. And of course, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, as we expect that the million people that are watching and heard your presentation will be happy to continue to see you stay here. Thanks, Derek, kidding aside. Okay, let's move on to our minutes. We have minutes of April the 5th. Be it resolved, the board adopt the April 5th board meeting minutes. I need a mover. Moved by trustee Nichols, seconded by trustee Pachakowski. Comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. Yes. All right, so it passed 8-1, thank you. We have our superintendent's report.
Thank you. A couple of overlaps, which is always nice to hear and share a story. Again, we have students who are starting to re-engage in all sorts of activities, athletics and field trips and school activities, and it's great to see, and we've got all sorts of activity in our schools. It is always important pre-pandemic and post-pandemic for us to be having good hand hygiene practices and to be respecting people's personal space and staying home when we're sick. We've got a bout of colds and flus going around as well. So just making sure that whenever we have some germs, we keep them to ourselves and stay home and or mask up if we need to. Should families need rapid antigen test kits just because they would like to make sure that they either do or don't have COVID, we still have them available, so please contact your schools and the administrators will make sure that they have those for you. The request form that we have is only needed if a child is going to be sent home with a kit, so if a parent isn't coming to pick it up and you want your child to be the courier bringing the kit home, you just need to fill out a kit so that you know you're getting a kit and we know that we're sending one home with your child. So there's a form that is just a permission to let us know that we can send a kit home with a child if we need to. Again, we're in the heart of staffing. You've heard some motions here about administrators, and we've got school staffing to get ourselves some high quality teachers for next year, and that's going really, really well. Kudos to our HR department and to Student Support Services and to our principals for doing all of that hard work. We mentioned in the sheriff's story that we are doing some hard work with any of the families who are coming from Ukraine or who are refugees from Ukraine. We have 2 schools and we have 5 students registered with us so far. So at Oakbank Elementary and Ecole Edward Trier School, we have got 5 students who have joined us. Orest Daneka is also retiring at the end of December, so we do get to keep him on in a divisional role and to help out with some of this and some other things for the next couple of months, and that's actually really delightful and a good combination because he'll do a brilliant job in helping us with navigating this. So thanks, Orest. And kindergarten orientations are on the go. I believe we have some this week on Thursday at Dugald and Enola, and they will trickle through the rest of the month, having our kindergarten students and their parents come visit schools and take bus rides sometimes and hear all sorts of good, wonderful things that are on the go. I believe the students of our graduating students have heard some rumblings and some information, and we have a whole bunch of things on the go for grad celebrations. And lastly, we have a virtual presentation on May 9th about self-care and mental health and resilience by Dr. Jody Carrington. And I wanted to thank Jackie Julian for her role in bringing Jody to the division. This is Jackie's last board meeting with us. She is officially done on April 29th. We are going to keep her involved and working with us for some part-time basis because we are not replacing Lars's position until the fall. So she will be here and there doing some extra work for us between now and June. But she has officially done her role as assistant superintendent, and this is her last board meeting. So Jackie, I have to tell you that it is one of the pleasures of my career to have been working with you, from being a principal with you, to doing PD sessions with you, to working with you here at the divisional level. You bring intelligence and wisdom and practicality to absolutely every single step that you do, and I will miss you an immense amount. I may take up golf just to come see you. I left one last picture, and I wanted to say that we were done with snow, but then I looked at the weather and there's more on the go, so I'm just going to leave the snow picture up there and embrace it. Unless there's questions, that's all I got.
Trustee Inslee?
With regard to graduations, is there any light at the end of the tunnel that they're going to be in person?
Yeah, so right now our schools are planning to have in-person graduation ceremonies. The convocation is the ceremony where we're handing out the diplomas and the awards, and that will be something that we want to make sure is accessible for everyone. So it will be happening in different ways in different schools, so it will be available. And then lots of schools are having a dinner and dance, and we have some schools that aren't doing the dinner and dance thing because the families have opted into doing some personal family parties, and that's a plan or a wish of the families who have graduating students. So that's an optional piece, but those things, as long as public health orders allow, will be in person.
Anyone else for anyone else for Superintendent Timko? Russ?
I'm just wondering, how does Laktabani go about getting a Ukrainian student out there? Is there a process, or I'm sure Laktabani would do a good job of welcoming them?
So the process right now is being run through the Ukrainian Congress, and it is families who are sponsoring Ukrainian refugee families to come and stay here with a family. So it would depend entirely on who they are staying with, and that's being run by the Ukrainian Congress in the province, unless something has changed that I didn't hear on the last Wednesday's meeting.
Just one thing to add is for contact information, if anybody wants any information about how they could support or register or help in any way, Manitoba 4 Ukraine.ca is the website you can go to for any information about what's happening in our province. Manitoba 4 Ukraine.ca, province's website.
Russ, they did say at the meeting that we attended is most of them would prefer to go to a Ukrainian bilingual program. Because of, certainly the being able to language and being able to be immersed right in, that was mentioned. That doesn't mean that they're not going to be going to other places to go up, but the kids that are coming over, for the most part, don't speak English. They're speaking Ukrainian, and they did talk about the fact is that for why most of the schools that were on the call, or the divisions, they had Ukrainian bilingual programs that were on the call, because it wasn't all school divisions that were there. Anything else for Kathy? Trustee Pachkowski?
Thank you. I don't have a question for Kathy. I think just since the topic came up, Jackie, on behalf of myself and the board, I think we appreciate what you've offered to the division. And just on a personal note, and not intentionally to date you or Paul in this case, but when I graduated high school in this division, there was a transition in administrators that year, and I had I was lucky to have both of them as my administrator that year, separately, of course. But yeah, I mean, your passion, dedication, and most notably your patience has been appreciated by myself and others on this board. So we want to thank you for that. I was not aware this was your last meeting, but it can't go without saying how much I've enjoyed working with you. And I'm sure that sentiment is shared amongst some of the trustees here. So just want to thank you publicly, wish you all the best in your future plans and endeavors, and I'm sure I'll have to take up a couple rounds of golf as well. So, thank you very much.
Try to. I actually wrote a few things. I do also want to take the opportunity publicly to share that I have appreciated all the opportunities I have been given. I have worked with brilliant people in Sunrise School Division and the former Agassiz School Division, because I'm one of those people who had my career in both. I have to mention my very first mentor as a teacher and my first teaching job at Parview School, and my mentor was Claudette Lambert. And I credit her to this day for an amazing career and the success I had as a teacher. I credit her. The leaders of Sunrise have supported me, and by leaders I mean the people in this room, the former superintendents and trustees have supported me and provided me with opportunities I never imagined I would have when I took my first teaching job and all I wanted to do was be a teacher. I'm looking forward to the next leg of my journey, but my heart will always be with Sunrise, the staff, the communities, the families, the thousands of students that I was privileged to interact with. Being the facilitator of learning, and not just book learning, for so many people is the most incredibly satisfying job in the world. There are no teachers, no doctors, no lawyers, no plumbers, no electricians, no construction workers, no business owners without teachers. And I mention all of those titles because in my immediate family, there are all of those titles, and I remind them daily that they would not be there without people like me, because it all starts with your teachers. So I thank you for all the opportunities that I've been given from Sunrise and from the people in this room and the former leaders of Sunrise. It's been a really great ride, and I'd love to see you all at the golf course.
I commented earlier in front of administrators, Jackie, about the time that you came up to Parview School after I left Parview School and moved into the division office. And you know what, you were this fiery, young administrator that just came from Hazel Ridge School. And you were in our hallways, and people couldn't believe how visible you were in our hallways and the relationships you built with kids right away. And that's what I remember you as a principal. And then you did that as you moved on to SEI, and the work that you did at SEI, and the educational leadership that you provided certainly there. And then again, the work that you've done in our division office. So yeah, I too, and I think that everybody around this room, I've had the chance to work with you. I'm feeling old now that Trustee Pachakowski talked about that he had two administrators that are sitting in this room there, but you know what, when I left Parview School, I left it in good hands because of what you did in there. And wherever you've gone, you've done a great job here with Sunrise, so we all appreciate certainly the work that you're going ahead and doing. We know that you're not going to be far away, because we'll continue to bug you, whether it's on the golf course or certainly the work that you're going to continue to from now until the end of June for us, and we appreciate that. And thanks for helping us. Okay. So Kathy, we have the draft schedule, the draft reporting schedule. It's for information. It's about all the things that are on there. The one thing that you're bringing back tonight is our 5-year capital plan, and we're going to discuss that later on in the agenda. So thanks for bringing that. I'm going to go to you, Jody, Secretary Treasurer's report.
Yeah, I put together a little bit of a report. Do you want me to share the screen? Okay. My understanding is my predecessor, Scott, would provide a lot of information to the board as to what the departments that the Secretary Treasurer works closely with, what they've been up to. So thankfully, I have been welcomed into the Sunrise family. Everybody has been super friendly, sharing information. I'm very thankful for that. So what I can report in the first 2 weeks of me being here, the departments have been very busy ensuring all schools are spending their 2021 budget. Everyone is aware that there's less than 3 months of school left, and so things are happening, things are very busy. Everybody's making sure that they're meeting or understanding cutoff times and making sure that all items are received by June 30th. As that is our fiscal year end. So there are some departments that will be transitioning from year end to the new budget year of 22-23. So we're kind of in that transition period getting ready. So some of the things that I've seen, the transportation department, I was fortunate to do a site visit on the 6th, and I was fortunate to meet all of the staff at the transportation department, and it was really nice to see the mechanics working hard in the back shop, making sure all the safeties are being done. They were preparing an engine swap. As a farm girl that gets my hands dirty, I was really excited to see all that kind of stuff going on in the back and getting to meet all the mechanics, all their hard work, and what their passion is. So really excited to see that. The department is also preparing for the early years school preparedness for transportation, informing the new students in the upcoming kindergarten orientation session. So that's what transportation's been up to. Maintenance in the last couple of weeks, they've been working hard on the 5-year capital, getting a report prepared for later tonight. They'll be sharing with you. We worked on the current summer project list, where we're at, what kind of estimated budgets we will have on there, and of course there will be more to be coming. They're right now working on additional information. And then preparing for roof inspections and getting ready for that maintenance once that snow all melts. So this winter has been hard on our facilities, and we anticipate that there will be some impact of that due to the weather conditions. We're going to start seeing the adverse effects on the buildings. So once that snow starts melting, we'll start seeing the impact. So maintenance department is getting ready for that. In regards to finance, between purchasing and finance, March 31st is a provincial year end. So the finance department is working on the year end in regards to provincial and preparing for the auditor's appearance. Purchasing is working closely with all the schools, making sure they're exhausting their budgets accordingly, and preparing to utilize the school supplies funds that the board has approved. So working diligently on collaborating with the schools, understanding the deadlines and the vendors to work with. So they're very, very busy. Yeah, and then I have to note Susan Marone, our payroll clerk. Her last day was April 14th. She's been working for the school division for almost 25 years, so I thank her for all her hard work and dedication to the division. She was one to freely share and assist in anything, so I was very happy to work with her again before she left. And the finance team does welcome Lindsay Zirk to take over the position of the payroll clerk, so we're excited to welcome her onto the department. ICT have been very busy making sure all the equipment is being purchased and ordered. A big issue with COVID, and no surprise here, is the supply chain. So the ICT department's ensuring that they're placing the orders and trying their best to make sure that the audio equipment and computers are all in place to ensure that it hits the 2020 or 21-22 budget. They're gearing up to install about 500 computers in White Mouse, Lac Du Bonny Senior School, Centennial, and Powerview over the summer months. They have a replacement program, and those schools are targeted this year. They're also trying to make sure there's improvements to security, to make sure there's multi-factor authentication. And so we'll see some improvements on there in regards to core servers and making sure we're compliant with our insurance company requirements. We do have to keep our software to the nearest edition. If the software gets too out of date, insurance identifies that as a hole in your strength of the security system. So thankfully our ICT department's on top of that. And there's a lot of work with the current efforts with our current program, Edsembly. There's many issues, I understand, and Gord and the team have been having ongoing conversations with them, trying to optimize and get the system at least to where users can find it useful. So other matters I just wanted to identify, there is, the board did award landmark planning, a land planning document back in June, or sorry, back in February, I believe. The deadline for that document is June 30th, and I'll be having a meeting with them just to understand where they're at with the process and what information I can also assist them with. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
Any questions for Jody? Trustee Barry?
Yeah, thanks. That was a very good report. The only question I have is, what does Edsembly
do for the schools? Like, what does the program entail?
So EdSembly is our student information system. It keeps all of the student addresses and marks and parent information. It is the software that keeps track of all of the educational information for the students. It does report cards, timetables, courses.
Anything else for Jody? Nice job, Jody, on the first report. We appreciate it. And again, you know what? I think that you provided some information and gave some high level comments on it for stuff. Trustees certainly can read it, and they can certainly ask questions either prior to, for you, and stuff. But thank you very much for doing that. So we have board business. So this is our COVID costs, and this is for information. Jody, did you want to make any comments about this?
Yeah, I can definitely, let's see if I can pull it up. I had a great conversation with the province today. Actually, I updated this report. Try and get this loaded here. I tried to update the report as fast as I could based on my conversation with the province. So there was some additional considerations to this. I think there was a concern, how are we best utilizing the COVID costs? My understanding with conversations with Scott. So I took it upon myself to give the province a call to understand the process or what the expectations are on how we're spending the funds. So it turns out, based on my interpretation of what they told me, I can include additional costs that we did not report before. So I think it reflected the last report on April 5th showed that we underspent these funds. Potentially, we could be definitely using and then some utilizing these COVID costs. So technically, if I incorporate all the factors that the province was talking to me about, we'll reflect at least a $500,000 impact of a deficit due to COVID costs. At this time, even though the word deficit might be scary, we do have divisional funds set aside for things like this. So we should be able to incorporate all these costs and definitely utilize the full COVID funds from the province. Hopefully that explains the difference between my report and Scott's. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that information, and that has been a question that the board's had, and you've clarified that as to where we are. Any other questions about the COVID costs? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on. We've got our 5-year capital plan. I'm going to motion it so it gets on the floor, and then we can ask questions certainly about it. So, be it resolved that the board approve the 5-year capital plan as presented. I need a motion by Trustee Nicol, seconded by Trustee Duma. All right, so now it's on the floor, Jody, and I'm sure that Derek, you're here to answer any questions. Is there any comments that you want to make to it?
I'll just share the screen here. So I have both the I have both the list or the letter that we will provide to the province based on our recommendations as to what the capital projects are, or the 5-year capital plan, and also attached would be the rationale behind that all. So there's a number of factors that came into consideration for this. It's not just, well, we haven't seen his original while in the capital plan. These items, these 11 locations and projects were based on several factors such as timing, maintenance, impact on long-term repairs and maintenance cost, operating costs. So there's many factors that go into this list. And I don't know if, Derek, you have any further comments to make on the project list.
No, not at this time. I believe that the list that will be submitted to Central Services by the end of April has identified the high priority items within Sunrise School Division. It's a lot of this stuff reflects on because of a lot of the items identified are age expired or We have some accessibility issues that we're looking to improve, like in, for example, in Hazel Ridge, and also the life skills room as well. No, it's a very good list for us to submit, and we're just going to wait for the approvals from Central Services on these projects.
So Derek, just some clarification. As you build a 5-year capital plan, I'm assuming that you take a look at some of the information that you have, you talk to administrators, and then from the plan you bring it to senior administration, you talk about the plan, and here's the plan. This just isn't all of a sudden Derek saying is that, oh, I think that we're going to go ahead and do Hazel Ridge. Is there a process like that?
That's exactly correct, Paul. What we look at a lot of different things, and again, it's not because it's Hazel Ridge, like was mentioned, or it's Whitemouth. It's things that are needed to improve conditions within a facility, and also to prolong the life of our buildings, and also reduce the cost of the operation of our buildings by being more efficient in regards to heating and ventilation systems.
Thanks, Derek. Any questions, Trustee Pachkowski?
I see item number 9 is just with Whitemouth School, and I don't know if Trustee Nicol, if you wanted to comment further afterwards, but not even this year, but going back to last year, I was involved with the Finance Committee, or maybe even it was the previous year, and I know that there were some added costs to this system that's there due to propane, I want to say. And so is this upgrade that we're including in this 5-year capital plan something that would address those costs?
The costs that you're referring to are the propane costs for the building. Former Secretary Treasurer Scott Carlton and myself met with Superior Propane and negotiated a price that seen a considerable saving throughout the division. The main reason for the project at Whitemouth is the situation we're faced with is if the steam boiler goes down, there's no backup heat for that building, because the other portion of the heating system is hot water. So what we want to do is try and create a system where it's one system, so we have backup. So if there's a failure one boiler, there's another boiler to take over. So right now it's a situation that concerns me because of the fact that if one boiler goes down, how readily available are the parts to repair it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Derek or Jody? Okay, seeing none, then we're going to vote on the capital plan. So hearing none, we're going to vote. Thank you. So that passed 9-0. Thank you for doing that. Thanks, Jody and Derek, for the work that you put into that. Appreciated. We're going to move on to our Retirement and Long Service Awards dinner. Kathy, you've got a committee?
Yep, we're at that time of year where we're starting to hear about folks that are retiring from the division, and we have met to come up with a plan. The group is listed in the report, but we've also decided that we are going to remain virtual this year with the potential of having a viewing party. The group kind of talked about it for a good length of time and said it would be really, really hard for us to plan for an entire in-person, and it would be too hard to shift to virtual at the last minute. So we thought it would be most prudent to just go through with our virtual event. We've gotten great uptake with the virtual event as well, and then do some surveying and checking with folks about what they'd like to see going forward. So the group has chosen Thursday, June 16th for the event. Again, virtual. We will have invitation letters going out to the committee, and the hardworking folks is all of our union presidents. A couple of trustees here, Don Nicol and Diane Duma, have been part of the committee, and then we've got Jen Baker, Stacy Bonato, and Jamie Wojcik helping us out with lots of the heavy lifting, and I think that Jody and I just supervise. A lot of the program items and the roles that people will need to do will come out as we get through the planning. I did want to provide for the board that last year you made a motion, and it is entirely up to you whether you'd like to make a motion again this year. I can share the screen and show you the motion from last year, or you can read that yourselves. I will make it a little bit bigger. Yep. Yes, sir. Perfect.
so I'm gonna go ahead and make them, and put a motion together, and then, we can have some discussion. So be it resolved that the Sunrise School Division, it's on ESBN, I don't have it all.
You want me to read it?
Yep.
The motion is, be it resolved that the Sunrise School Division organize a virtual celebration of employee long service and/or retirement to take place on Thursday, June 16th at 6 p.m.
Thanks, Jared. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Nichol, seconded by trustee Pachakowski. Discussion? Karen?
I'm just disappointed that it's not going to be in person, because the only one that I've ever attended was in 2019, and it was, yeah, it was a really fun evening, and it's a real shame that with restrictions being removed, then that we can't do an in-person one.
Thank you, trustee Inslee. Others? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. So thank you, it was past 9-0. Thanks for doing that. Thanks, Jared. And your comments are noted, trustee Inslee. Go ahead.
So the people who do the heavy lifting have just said to me that it was the 9th and not the 16th, so I had a miss date written down here. Am I right with that, Dawn? Do you remember the 9th or the 16th? We have the 9th. And I'm very sorry.
Well, who's going to help me out with that? We just passed. So we just passed a motion for it to be June the 16th and it's June the 9th. So who's going to help me out with that? How do we correct that?
So on the report we got, it says Thursday, June 16th was chosen for the event. I'm just confused. Oh, that was just the wrong date.
My error.
All right, so it's not the 16th, and we just passed a motion for the 16th. We need to pass a motion for it to be the 9th. How do we do that? I don't know. Uptake? Okay, head nods. Are we good with it? Jared? Robin? Nod? Don? Russ? Diane? Diane? Art? Okay, so we can make the change. Stacy, thanks for doing that. All right. School supply budget. Is this you, Jody? Okay.
So our schools are busy doing school supply purchase. The board has made a motion to allocate money so that the school supplies for students are purchased in the fall, and all of our principals and our teachers are working right now on making sure that they have all of their school supplies ordered and purchased and in place for students when they start school in the fall. So thank you to the board. The principals are hard at it and making sure that they get everything done on time. Much appreciated.
Anybody want to make a comment?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, appreciate the comments for the board, but there's a lot of work that goes into this from people in the division. So I think more thanks goes to the people who are mass ordering supplies and mass organizing supplies and then getting them out to schools. So I appreciate those folks as well.
And I think that we also need to, Kath, as you put down here in some of the things, we need to leave some responsibility with some of our administrators. We buy a pretty nice calculator for a student, and the student loses it or throws it away. We're not going ahead and buying him another one. He can go ahead and buy it himself. So we're supplying the initial things. And like we talked about, somebody wants to build a birdhouse, we're going to pay for the material for a birdhouse. Somebody wants to build a 3-story mansion birdhouse, they're going to pay for the extra cost for that. So I think that, and you know, musical instruments, we got a great program. Part of it is we're not, the cost of musical instruments or the cost of students. And again, we're trying to help students out and help families out. We need to use some common sense as we're looking at this. So thanks, Kath, for outlining this, and that's awesome that we can go ahead and do that. So now we have a carryover update, and is this you, Jody? Sorry. Go ahead.
Talking about year-end, a quick recap of last year, there was a couple motions passed accepting some schools to spend more than their allowed 3% or allocated more than the 3% carryover. On the report that I did attach to the agenda was just a overview or a quick highlight of, has the school spent the funds, when do they expect to spend it, or have they committed? There were some replies back. I should actually backtrack. There were some motions that were passed accepting some schools to have a carryover. Some of those schools ended up having fully exhausted their funds at the end of the 2021 school year. Therefore, they would not be reflected on the report. There was also some timing issues. One school, they had iPads. They didn't arrive until the first week of July. Therefore, it was just really a timing issue. If they arrived on June 30th, it would have expensed on the proper period in the 2021 school year. So there were some amounts that I don't know if it was fully brought to the board's attention, that it was just a timing issue and a carryover was permitted for, say, the purchase or arrival of iPads. There was some, I think Beausejour early years also would be one. They had a climbing wall that arrived the first 2 weeks of July, when the supplier said, nope, by June it'll arrive. Unfortunately, due to COVID and supply chain matters, things were arriving late. So for the most part, most of the schools have been fully spent their funds. Just to highlight though, Dugald was a large one that requested a carryover of about $11,000. They have not fully spent the funds. In fact, talking with the principal there, they are considering making it into a larger project for a basketball court or improvements to a playground area. So that was a discussion we had. I advised them to be prepared to have a conversation with the board and explaining why we couldn't utilize these funds or what the big plan is and how was that communicated last year. So that was one. ESS, they are working on, I had a great discussion this morning with Mr. Liskey. My understanding is the funds have been fully spent on what he intended to purchase it. Unfortunately, I didn't update the report. So there are schools that fully spent it. Lac du Bonny Senior, there was a carryover of about $12,000. Technology, a lot of these projects were technology related and updating audio technology in their gym to better their events for multi-purpose, for having presenters, for everybody to meet in the gym or a larger auditorium space. So I don't know if anybody might want to have more questions on them or...
Thanks, Jody. Any questions for Jody? So Jody, I'm one of them that certainly talked a little bit about this, and I'm all for that. If we need to go ahead and carry over, that people have a plan, and that they follow up, that they're going to go ahead and spend the money on the plan of what they're going to go ahead and do. If things change, that's a conversation with you and the administrator. I don't think that you need to come back to us, but part of it is, are we looking for a report that's saying is that, hey, our schools, when they said that they were going to do the carryover, they spent the money where they were going to go ahead and spend it. A couple of schools said they needed to go ahead and do something different. They talked to me about it. I'm good with it, and move forward. I'm not sure that it necessarily needs to come back, but I did go and check, and some of the schools are bang on, and there's a couple other schools that aren't bang on. But I think that the board was just saying, you want to carry the money over, you got a plan, Kathy and Jody are good with it. I think let's move forward with it. So kudos to you. There's a few schools that probably need to do some work, still work with you. That's your job to continue with them. Fair enough? Okay. Any others? Trustee Duma?
Just a question, when they do the purchasing, do they do any of this purchasing through the purchasing department, or do they do this on their own?
Yeah, for the most part, this is all either through the purchasing department or even through ICT. They'll coordinate with them as well for some of the audio equipment and technology.
Okay, thanks, Jody. We're going to move on. 8.6 is the calendar discussion, and I'm going to turn it to you, Kath.
So one of the things that the Board of Trustees needs to do is to approve an upcoming calendar for the 22-23 school year, and that needs to go to Manitoba Education and Early Literacy by May 6th. So it will be coming as a motion on May 3rd. One of the intricate parts about this year's calendar is that the place and space where Christmas Day falls can split the weeks of holidays, or we can have an option of working for one longer day and staying in classes until December 22nd and having a full 2 weeks after that. It's the 1 year we get to sort of have that decision, otherwise the calendar is pretty static and set by Manitoba Education. So there's a little bit more work involved in this one, and asking other divisions and neighboring divisions what they're doing, asking our system what they would like to do, and ultimately this room of people will decide what the calendar looks like for next year. So I wanted to make sure that the board was made aware well in advance and had some discussions and asked any questions they had before it is that we come out the gate with what our calendar is going to be.
Thanks, Kath. The information that you provided us here talked about the two different options, talking about what kind of Winnipeg Metro is doing, what some of the school divisions around us are doing, what our school administrators, their preference have been. If you get a chance, to talk to your parents or PACs, it'd be a good one to go and have that conversation. But there does need to be a decision by the board come May the 6th as to what calendar that we're going to go ahead and have. Any discussion or questions from people around here? Trustee Rowland?
I would just want to say my support for option 2. I feel like the Friday, returning back on a Friday for 1 day is likely a lot of children would not show up that day anyways, and as a parent I feel like that would suit our family better as well, most families. So I actually would support option 2.
Thanks, Trustee Rowland. Anybody else want to share? Trustee Reed?
I agree. I thought the second option was by far the best.
Anyone else want to comment? Thanks, Karen. Trustee Inslee?
I agree with option 2. It just seems more logical, and you've got to appreciate that spouses, how their work schedule fits in, and it just makes more sense.
Thank you. Anyone else? Trustee Pachkowski?
Yeah, I just plainly look at what Kathy's included in the feedback from our administrators, and obviously there's an overwhelming support for option 2. So I think we listen to the people that are in our system, and I think that's where we go.
Okay, so we just wanted to get a little bit of a feel what people were thinking of right now as to where it is. Kath, this is good support, good information that's come out for us, and the motion will come out on May the 3rd at our next meeting. Okay, let's keep going. Committee reports. We have a policy committee update, so Trustee Harris, I would like you to take us through the policy committee.
So the minutes of our, draft minutes of our meeting are attached to the agenda. One of the policies that we reviewed at our last meeting was policy number 7, which is titled Board Operations. Within that is a line that reads, see Section 5 of the Board of Trustees Operational Bylaw number 359-18 for more details. It turns out that a change was made to the bylaw recently, and that bylaw number changes every time a bylaw happens. So that number 359-18 is now out of date, and it should read 374-21. So we're asking this board if that is a typographical type change that we could make without making a notice of motion and then a vote here at the board level to change that number. What the feeling of the board is for that kind of change.
So you're asking, I guess, Trustee Harris, is to kind of get, we're looking at changing a number, 374-21 to that number. Okay. And it's just that number that we're looking to change. Okay, so to me it's a no-brainer. It's a number. However, certainly everyone else, Trustee Pachkowski, thoughts? Number? Don? You're on the... Thanks, Don. Russ? Diane? Oh, Diane Duma? Sorry, Art. Diane Duma?
So what you're saying is that this motion was already passed, and it had an incorrect title to it, is that what you're saying? No.
No, this policy is reviewed every 4 years. So sometime in the last 4 years, our bylaw number changed and wasn't caught in this policy number 7 until now. So it needs to get changed to reflect our current bylaw number. Did that come across right? Yes. Kathy?
So we changed our operational bylaw in 2021, and every time we vote and there was a motion to revise or review our operational bylaw, it gets a new number. We didn't review policy 7 until now, so this is the first time since we did change the operational bylaw that the number needs to be different. So we just missed that it existed in a policy. Our actual bylaw number is now 37421, whereas in the past it had a different number for when it was current to 2018.
Right, so I understand that, that's good. I want a clarification that the operational bylaw 374-21 was actually passed. And yes, it was. Okay, thanks.
So I guess I'm just going around the table just to make sure. Okay. Trustee Inslee? So I think that we have unanimous consent with everybody, unanimous about us going ahead and doing that. So let's just make the change. Thanks, Robin. Keep going.
So a second policy that we revisited was policy 21, the mandatory proof of COVID-19 vaccination status or COVID-19 testing. That is on our in-camera agenda to discuss a bit further to come back to here.
So we need to come back to that. Thank you. Chair Nicol, Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee will be on Thursday, so we have nothing to report until this Thursday. Usually we have the meeting after the Finance meeting, but the way it worked out that we have it afterwards. At that time, we will hopefully we'll come up with a recommendation on the monitoring report.
Thank you. So the Finance Committee, there's no check register, so we can move on. I am the signing authority for the month of April. We said that we wanted to put a standing item on there, 8.10, the Education Foundation Committee. We've got it as a standing item that we're now introducing for looking as to information. Did you want to share anything, Jody, or was there anything to share about it? It was really about us making sure that we wanted to bring it front and center, so we need to do some work to it, so it's going to be a standing item on our agenda. Thank you. Professional development, CAPSUL, and those are the trustees that are going to CAPSUL 9.1. We do not have a financial monitoring report, 10.1. I've sent you the correspondence, board correspondence with regard to, 11.2. We have the Sunrise board response. It was a letter that went back. Thanks very much, Stacy, for the letter going back about the proposal to subdivide in Springfield. We had nice to know information, upcoming meetings. So this is where, Jody, you need to, there's no press release, there's questions from the public. Jody, has anybody emailed you tonight with questions from the public?
No, I just checked my email, and during the meeting I've been keeping my eyes open for any incoming questions, and nothing to report.
Thank you. So we need to move back into in-camera. There's a few things. Now, let me ask this question. Do we want to, we have some motions that we can do now, Kathy, or do we want to do those later? Let's do the two motions that we have, and then we do need to go back into in-camera. They're in here? Yeah. Okay, so 17.1. Be it resolved that the board approve the recommended administrative appointment as presented effective September the 6th. Is there no school to that? So you know what? Okay, so be it resolved that the board approve the recommended administration appointment for principal at Ecole Parview School as presented effective September the 6th. We need to add a school in there. Stacy, can you add that school in there, please? Be it resolved that the board approve the recommended administrative appointment at Ecole Parview School as presented effective September the 6th, 2022. Any difficulties with that? Okay, so there's the motion that's there. So it's motion by trustee Nicol, seconded by trustee Pachakowski. Questions on it? Hearing none, we'll vote. Do you get kicked out? Okay, so it's passed 9-0. Thank you for that. And then we have 17.2. Be it resolved that the board offer the position of the Ecole Dugald School Assistant Principal, .75, effective September the 6th, as recommended by the superintendent. I need a mover. Moved by trustee Rowland, seconded by trustee Duma. Any questions to this? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And that passed 9-0, thank you. So now we're going to go into in-camera. I'm going to give people 3 or 4 minutes about going to in-camera. And for people that are, if there are people that are watching, we will have a motion coming, we believe we will have a motion coming out of in-camera, and we'll come back to regular. So it's 7:21, let's take till 7:25, 7:28? Well, that's 8, I knew that, thank you. Okay, so we're back from in regular, and we have no motions coming from in camera, but we do have some information from our policy chair, Trustee Harris.
So we have a policy on the books. Policy number 21 is titled Mandatory Proof of COVID-19 Vaccination Status or COVID Testing. Policy Committee is recommending that we rescind that policy. So we are bringing forward a notice of motion tonight that we will bring forward a motion at our next regular board meeting, May the 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Accepted. You got that, Stacy? Thank you. So I think that now we're in adjournment, are we not? So, Jackie, it's the last one. We're adjourned. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Drive safe.